is that this will benefit you as you're considering how to leverage new technologies to better manage your assets, like it's done for Chester County Natural Gas. One of the things to mention is, the solution that we built for this particular customer is focused on their natural gas assets, but the assets could be anything. They could be park benches or water valves or trees, whatever that asset may be. Many of the tools that we'll talk about today could be used for various applications. A few housekeeping things. The webinar will be recorded and made available to you later, both to you and then provide for other folks that might not have been able to join us. We've muted everyone, but we will have a Q&A session toward the end where we'll unmute folks and certainly encourage questions and discussion as you have. Certainly as we're going through the webinar today, feel free to send us a chat. We've got several people monitoring the chat window, so we'll take those questions either during the time that we're talking or more likely towards the end. You probably know Duncan-Parnell a lot for the geospatial division. That's what we're a part of here for things that we do for survey and mapping, primarily focused on Trimble and Esri. However, Duncan-Parnell also does lots of other things, and just want to take a quick moment to make you aware of that. We do a lot with signs and graphics. We have various printing capabilities for wide format and different things, including 3D printing. There's a separate division of Duncan-Parnell called Building Point Southeast that's focused on BIM and various other solutions that Trimble provides specifically for building construction. Duncan-Parnell was founded in 1946. It is still a family-owned business today. We've expanded in the past few years, and within the past 10 years, really expanded the footprint out of the Carolinas. Headquarters is still in Charlotte, North Carolina, but our reach now goes available from Maryland, Delaware customers all the way down to Florida. And based on the attendee list that I saw, I think we have representations all the way from those two extremes, both from Florida and Maryland. So we welcome everyone today. I'm York Groh. I am the MGIS Solutions Manager for Duncan-Parnell. I reside up in Virginia and manage our sales territory focused on mapping solutions. Peter Thompson will also be joining us towards the latter half of our discussion today. Peter's based in Charlotte, and he focuses on utility solutions for the Carolinas, but is also a key person in developing our ArcGIS Online applications for various customers. Also with us is Victoria Polito. She's in our marketing department and will help as needed as we're going along here today. I want to kind of give you an overview of where we're headed. We want to talk a little bit about Chester County Natural Gas, where they came from, what their GIS looked like prior to Duncan-Parnell getting involved, and kind of the pain points that led them to look for these solutions. We'll look at the types of inspections they were doing and also that they continue to do with these new application tools from ArcGIS Online and what that GIS redesign looked like. Then Peter's going to not use the PowerPoint, so the more favorable part of a presentation, to actually do a live demo. He'll show you both the ArcGIS Online tools that he used in a web type development environment, but then also what those look like when you get to the field, looking at the various field apps. And then we'll make certain to leave a good 15 to 20 minutes for questions and answers, and then we'll get you finished up here no later than 2 o'clock. Chester County Natural Gas started about 60 years ago, and they serve customers in Chester County, South Carolina, over 7,500 customers. A lot of their load, about 70% of their load is industrial. Roy Brunson, who's pictured here, was the key person that Peter worked with to build out this implementation. Roy's been there for about 3.5 years now, currently as their IT manager. He's worked with various solutions that are needed there at Chester, looking at measurements, communications, mapping their building software, network maintenance. And most recently, he's been focused on initiatives to modernize and kind of move their field data collection forward. So to kind of give you a backdrop of what they had been using, when Roy came, they were still using CAD. So of course they came from a completely paper environment, then they moved to a CAD environment, and then eventually to ArcGIS using geodatabases at the desktop level. They used ArcGIS Desktop for editing and viewing maps, both in the office and in the field. For asset collection, they have a Geo 7X they've used to capture GPS assets, and then used associated Trimble software for the import and export of that GPS data. Their construction crews and their line locators used these rugged computers, the Toughbooks you can see here, equipped with ArcGIS Desktop, but this was just an offline use of files that they loaded up onto the laptops, not really using any map replicas, or what they were using were pretty dated. So they had no connection back to a server from the field or anything like that. For all of their work activities each day and for inspections, all of that was done by paper until just very recently. So they had quite a few challenges of data and keeping track of everything. The only assets they tried to map with the G07 were just the valves, just due to the complexity of getting it back and forth where they needed to in the GIS, and the valves were the most important that they wanted to track. Paper maps were still used, but the problem was people had to wait for paper maps to get them ready to be used. Reports could be done out of ArcGIS, but they were limited in the capabilities that they had. Filtering and querying that they needed to do was slow. The field devices that they had were outdated with information just because they had no way to upload any changes that had been made. They were using mobile phones, but the maps they had on those were limited just because it would take hours to publish all the field data back and forth between the office and the field. It just became another obstacle that they had to get around. So they had lots of existing inspections they were doing, but all those for valves and for leaks and corrosions all were done by paper. I don't know if you can see the image there in the upper right, but that's a picture of what their inspection notebook looked like. So it was created with Excel spreadsheets and diagrams. So they actually had to draw on the different papers to do the inspections. And that's kind of where the information stayed, was just right there in that notebook. ArcGIS was used to print maps to help guide the field folks to know where the valves were or the lines were they need to inspect it. I don't know if you can somewhat make out the different color codes that were put on the map just to guide the folks to doing the inspections. But it really took a lot of time due to this pen and paper type of activity. And it was also really difficult to track daily progress. So the folks back in the office managing the operations really had no way to tell how inspections were going, what the progress was going to be. So Chester had several objectives as they were looking for a new solution. They valued local support for GPS hardware and also wanted local support for improving their whole GIS environment. They wanted somebody dedicated to help them with both things and really to be there from the start to the end. They wanted maps that were readily available. They wanted to be able to do quick searches. They wanted to easily generate reports and query the data, and really just improve how their data was organized and the access to that organized data. They desperately wanted to reduce the endless paper trails and have a digital system of record. The field users needed to all have the same experience and all have identical information and not be hindered by having outdated or questionable type of information. So the tool sets in ArcGIS Online became those that Peter guided them toward, and that's what they pursued. So with those requirements in place, they worked with Peter to kind of implement those changes and redesign their GIS. And they're now using all an online cloud environment with ArcGIS Online. They do back up to local servers, but that's just to store historical information, to keep it that way. Everything on a daily use is all built and used out of the cloud. Their advanced editing now is all done in ArcGIS Pro in a web browser. So that means there's no special software to be installed, which has unfortunately become very convenient now with all the restrictions with COVID-19. So making ability to do work from various places very applicable now without having to have specific software loaded. They do still use offline copies when needed, just because some of their locations where they're working, they don't have internet access or it's a little bit shaky. So how does this look for the field users? Now, with these new tool sets, the changes that are made in the office, they show up immediately in the field. So meters get added or taken away, services disconnected or connected. Those immediately show up to the field. They're still using the same set of hardware they've had. They have a mix of iPads, they have some laptops and mobile phones, but they're all using this new solution with these live data from the various different Esri apps. Even the older laptops are still being able to be used but accessing all the same data using the Esri apps, which meant they didn't have to immediately invest in some new hardware. We'll talk a little bit later. They hope to do that soon, but it wasn't a condition upon getting this type of solution up and running for them. The field users have a live connection now in most areas, so they have a real-time view in the office as to what inspections are being completed. So no more having to go sift through field books to see how progress is going in the inspections. The field technicians can look up and view the CAD drawings from different services when they're installed. They can look at previous photos. It really gives them powerful information at their fingertips, not only to give them more information, but when they need to talk to customers on site, they can many times get those questions answered right then rather than having to wait until later. So how was this implemented? Peter received all the data late last year, got it organized and published out to the solution. It took about 30 days or so to get everything ready. And then there was some training for the different groups, both some on-site training that Peter did, but then also some screen sharing sessions as well. October 15th of last year is when the solution was launched. And Roy got some very valuable experiences. He was also learning more about what the line locators and the construction folks do in the field and could see how beneficial it was to them. Other things they are going to work towards are getting the billing integration done. They've got a customer update that's in process this summer, and once that's done, then they'll import the customer data with phone numbers and contact information as well. So the folks in the field will have that also. The construction department started out did a valve inspection. Their every 5-year valve inspection started in early February, and they were thrilled with the ease of use and collection of the inspections for critical and non-critical valves. Roy told us that they were immediately bragging about how much they could get done and how easy it was. They were amazed at what they were able to do with the tools. Leak inspection started a little bit later, just in the early part of April. And that also went smoother and faster than ever before. The progress of data to field and office was seamless, and the inspection even used words like enjoyable for what they were able to do out in the field. Just a lot more simple to check a few boxes, answer a few questions, take some pictures, and then move on to the next asset. And they're steadily finding new things they can do with these solutions to improve the uses of what they have and apply these tool sets to other types of work that they have out in the field. They've launched a couple dashboards now so that folks back in the office can really see the daily progress. And it's really been an interactive process with Peter at Duncan-Parnell and some other of us here with the customer, just to make certain that they're being supported and able to keep moving with the kind of solutions that they want. When the inspections are complete, they immediately update the assets, whether they're lines or meters or easy to view. Peter will show greater details in a little bit. You can see some of the colors on this screen here. The colors help them know where they need to go, where they have been. It's just saved a lot of time, especially for record keeping in the office. No need for printing maps, including attachments. No need to make spreadsheets anymore to organize for the field crews. The customer service folks back in the office are now able to quickly answer questions to customers about availability of service and other things that it used to take a while and coordinations to be able to answer. Just a lot better, more efficient service, both for the field folks in the office and also out in the field. Here's an example of one of their dashboards that have been set up. It's really pretty straightforward. They just needed to know what it looked like, how many valves, both the critical valves, they're in red, and the yellow for the non-critical valves. So no need for somebody to filter through paper notebooks to confirm progress. They can now do it live and update. A few months ago, Peter was doing a presentation, and during that time, we could actually see the dashboard flipping up as they were collecting more things on that particular day. Leak inspections were first done about 5 years ago. They just started those recently, and they're finishing this up, and it's cut about a week off of the time that it took them in the past. Both meters and mainline inspections have been done. On this particular map, the green dots show where they've been. They have things like meter diagrams to indicate where the leaks are on the particular meters. And they also have this sketch here in the lower right that you can see for undergrounds where they get a leak and they can mark directly on those. And those become permanently attached to the inspection for that particular asset. So what's next for them? That's kind of the next phase I mentioned. They are going to be looking at billing integration. So for later this fall, they've finished up the valve inspection, almost done with the leak inspection. Then they plan a corrosion inspection this month. Then later this year, towards the fall, they do hope to change some of the hardware to get rid of some of their older equipment and start to look at some of the new equipment that's available from Trimble, just to make things more available to them to collect higher accuracy in the field. There's a couple different options that Chester, and anyone for that matter, is considering right now. The kind of bring your own device capability is where Trimble provides a piece of hardware for a GNSS receiver, and then that will make a Bluetooth connection over to some type of data collector. Could be an iPad, could be an Android phone, could be a Windows tablet. So that way you're leveraging technology you may already have. In this case, they may still use some of the iPads, but they may be considering new devices as well to which to attach a separate Trimble receiver via Bluetooth. The other option that Trimble has are all-in-one type devices. Pictured here, you see the Nomad 5. It's enabled with a EM100 module that gives you sub-meter accuracy. The TDC 150, it's a little different than this, but it's very similar to the G07 in its form factor, but it's also an Android operating system, just like the Nomad 5. So it gives you the option to load any of the Esri apps on and use that as well. Barcode scanners now are an option for some of the equipment, and we do still have a full-blown Windows 10 environment in 2 different models, depending on what the needs are for the customers. So Peter's still working with the client to look at that, to see which option would work best for them. And now we'll let Peter take over from here and kind of give you a demonstration of how the different tools are working. So Peter, I will let you take it from here.
All right, thank you, York. Bear with me as I transition from York to myself as the presenter. You should all now be able to see my screen. A couple things we want to reiterate as we go through this demo is that, yes, we're showing a gas demo. This was built for a gas company, but we could do this for any utility out there. We could do it for just about anything you could possibly want. It's a very flexible and scalable solution. So don't think just, oh, we're watching a gas webinar, this is strictly for gas. It's a scalable solution that can be used for just about anything out there. So what we are looking at now is what we call our Gas Distribution Editor app. This is a web app through ArcGIS Online that has, and I guess I should also preface that we are not showing Chester's data. This is all Duncan-Parnell's demo site. So all the screenshots you saw from York were from Chester's actual data. But since they're not with us right now, we are only going to show Duncan-Parnell's demo site. But what we're what we're looking at is our Gas Distribution Editor app. It is essentially a replacement for ArcGIS Desktop for Chester County and anybody else that works with this solution. You're going to have full functionality that you have in ArcGIS Desktop, including edit functionality, so we can add, delete features. It's going to be scalable, so as you zoom in, more features are going to become available to you. So we can update attribute information, we can update geometry, just about anything that you would do on a normal day-to-day basis for editing of your GIS data. So pretty straightforward there. You can toggle layers on and off just like you would with your table of contents in ArcGIS Desktop. So we can toggle everything off by hitting the control button. If all we want to see is meters, we can get the meters to pop up, and we can always bring everything back online pretty quickly. Another thing that we've noticed from doing this solution for Chester and a few other folks is that they're seeing performance be significantly better than what they were experiencing in the office when they had everything. In their case, they were actually on an SDE, but they're experiencing much better performance overall than they were prior to this solution. So base maps, we can adjust base maps. So a lot of people like the imagery. For Chester's case, we actually were able to get Chester County they provided Chester with some TIFFs that we were able to upload so that they're actually able to see the county imagery in conjunction with the Esri imagery. They're able to switch back and forth between them. And then this is just a legend, pretty straightforward. So moving back over this direction, we're going to give the ability to search on by address or any asset that you may want to search for. For instance, we can search for meter 123, and we can zoom directly to that meter and get the information on it. When we get it, it actually pops up. It's going to show you all of the information on that meter, all the attribute information. We don't have a lot. Some of this stuff is missing, including our F2897 plastic barcode rule. So we do have the ability to, and for those of you in the gas industry, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of you not in the gas industry, it just sounds like a bunch of acronyms. But SIMSA requires that we track, or they will be requiring shortly, that we track manufacturer, lot number, manufacturer date, component, material, diameter, wall thickness on all assets that are put into the ground. Reason being that is if there is a recall on any specific component that's in the ground, you need to be able to quickly and easily find those in your system, locate them, replace them. So what I'm going to show you next after this is collector. We have the ability to scan a barcode and actually populate these fields on the fly. So we also can, once we query one of these meters, we can edit it simply by clicking edit. And then I can update the attribute information, or I could actually move the meter. Don't want to do anything because this is our demo data that all of our sales reps have access to. So I'm not going to do any editing of geometry or attributes today, but just know that there's full capability there. Just like in ArcGIS Desktop, a lot of people, you want the ability to measure. So you can change it between feet, miles, kilometers, whatever you may want. And then you just simply click, just like in ArcGIS Desktop. You can double click to end it and then clear. We do have bookmarks so that if we want to come back to this spot, we can add a bookmark. We'll call this webinar. So if I click this home button here and go back to the full extent of the map, I can simply click and get back to this spot very, very easily. We do have extent navigation as well. And then we have full print functionality. Pretty straightforward, simple printing, but we've got that capability there. It's going to allow you to generate a PDF, and it does not seem to want to work right now. Let's try it again. But what would happen is it'd give you the capability of changing the format of the print, the title of the map that you're generating, whether you want the legend, the scale, etc. So the beauty of this solution is everything is on ArcGIS Online. So as we make edits in the field, we're going to see those edits real time in the office. That means you no longer have to bring a device and plug it into the computer. If I've got somebody collecting clear on the other side of the county, they're collecting meters, and I want to see the progress they're making, or let's say they run into an issue, they can collect the data in Collector, and then in the office, you're able to very easily come into this application and see what they're doing. So the next thing we want to do is I'm actually going to pull up Collector. So this is just an iPad that I'm using. You're going to see that the map is the exact same scaling as what we were using prior on the web app. I am inside, so I'm not connected to a GNSS receiver, so you're going to see 32 feet accuracy. We obviously want better than that, but you know, limitations, having a roof over your head is always a good thing. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you the process of collecting a feature, and it's going to come right to my neighborhood, right to my house. And what we're going to collect is a fitting. Sorry, we're going to collect a coupling. And it's going to automatically average 5 positions for me and then once you've got that coordinate system under where it says unknown there, you know the location has been fixed. So asset type, we're going to call it a plastic coupling. Asset ID, this would be a unique ID that you have within your system. I'm going to call it COP, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody remember that so we can quickly search that here in a few minutes. Barcode is this F2897 plastic pipe rule. This is really important. So I've actually got a fitting here. And if I click on the barcode scanner, it's going to bring up the camera and it's going to allow me to scan that barcode. Since there's two there, it may give me a little problem. I've got another one here. Now, Trimble makes a barcode scanner for the Nomad 5 that I have seen work extremely well, but we can scan 2D and 3D barcodes. There we go. So that was not a coupling that we just scanned. You will not see the results until I am finished collecting all of the attribute information, but we can say the install date was, let's say today. Insulator device, sure, there's an insulator device, but there's all kinds of information we've got there. And then once I hit submit, and this is actually sending it up to the cloud so that we'll be able to see it. But the beauty is, as we scroll down here, now we've got the manufacturer automatically populated, the component automatically populated, the lot number, manufacture date, material, etc., all automatically populated so that we can be in complete compliance with the F2897 plastic pipe rule. So, you know, we can do that for anything that we've got here. This is actually the meter on my neighbor's house. What I want to show you is that I don't have a picture for this one. I thought I had a picture for this one. Maybe I have one for mine. No, I did not take a picture for any of them, but you have the ability to attach a picture to these as well. No, I did not take a picture for any of them. But either way, we've now collected that point. You can collect points, lines, polygons, whatever it may be. We have a database for the gas, water, sanitary sewer. We have industry standard databases that we've set all of this up on. If you've got existing GIS data, as Chester did, we will transition to this industry standard format. And the beauty is it's scalable. So with this solution in our database, we're able to scale this out with that nice database. So let's come back here and we are going to search my address. And with that, we should be able to see everything that we just collected or that has been collected here. Obviously, I do a lot of testing. But there's the one that we just collected today. So it is real time. You're going to be able to see this on the fly. So that's the basic data collection, viewing, editing. But where we really, I feel, help Chester out the most is with the inspections. So we've done valve inspections for them. We've done leak inspection for them. Both of those are utilizing Survey 123 and ArcGIS Explorer, which I'm going to demo here in a moment. And then we've just rolled out corrosion inspection for them within the last 2 weeks or so. So they've, you know, kind of slowly started to get into this, but they're full-fledged. And I was personally blown away with the speed at which they were able to do their leak inspection. And Roy told me, blown away, they were able to shave a week off of their leak inspection, which is a immediate ROI there because they're using a contractor to go out and do these leak inspections. So that contractor actually used our solution for the leak inspections. So I've switched over to a new web app for leak inspection. You're going to see it looks a tad bit different. With these meters and with most gas systems, you have to inspect a third of your system annually. So we've got a query that's running that says if the meter has been inspected within the last 3 years, so the inspection is current, it's going to be green. If the meter has not been inspected within the last 3 years, which is most of ours in our demo data, the meter is going to be red. So this gave the field guys a very quick and easy way to say, hey, we don't need to inspect this meter, it's green, so we can skip on to the next one. Now, the tool that runs in the background to change these colors is not real time, but what Roy did is he had it set off to go first thing in the morning, at lunchtime, and then in the evening, so that as they're going, they are able to see these changes as they make them. So, you know, we're able to come in here, you can see the you can see the legend here. This is going to be set up almost identically to the editor app. We've taken away the edit functionality here. It's just for viewing these leaks. So you can see these meters, and this is a little preview of what we're about to show you. But it shows you the date of the last inspection. It's going to say the inspection is current, and this is a residential meter, so it's inspected every 3 years. Their public buildings are inspected annually, so the script handles that as well. So if the inspection date is not within 365 days, then the status instead of inspection current would be needs inspection. And again, red and green for those. So what we want to do is, this is just a viewer, allows you to see. We can see the leak that they've got. So this is not real data. This is just demo data that I've created, but we can actually get the leak information here simply by clicking the leak. But that gives us a GPS location of where the inspector was at the time they completed the leak, which is required for compliance. So let's minimize this, and we're going to bring back up my tablet, and we're going to switch to ArcGIS Explorer. So you see I'm in the same area. I'm seeing the exact same thing that we saw back in the office. But let's say we want to complete an inspection. So we're going to do this meter here, and I know you can't see what I'm pointing to, but we're going to do this meter. And as we can see, last inspected on 1/4/1935, that's just a generic date that we have in there so that we know that it needs inspection. So here we have a simple yes or no answer. Is there a leak? So for this one, we're going to say, sure, there's a leak. What's going to happen is then we're going to launch Survey 123. And the beauty of this solution is all of the information from that meter is going to carry over to the Survey 123 form and automatically add information for us. So automatically, it's going to say, yes, there's a leak, because that's a radial that we clicked. We clicked yes. We automatically get the inspection date, which is the time that Survey 123 launched. Inspection feature is automatically going to be meter, because we clicked on a meter and that's what we're inspecting. It's going to register it as a customer, and then the asset ID is going to automatically pull over. It's also going to recognize that it's a 3-year frequency rather than an annual frequency. And again, leak is detected. So location of the leak, we can say whatever we want. I'm going to just say webinar location. Grade 1, 2, 3, 1 being extremely urgent, requires immediate attention. 3, not as urgent. I think these are pretty standard grades that we have. So detected by, let's say it was odor, and it's collecting in the soil. And again, probable source is going to automatically go to meter set. Of course, it can be something else, but since we clicked on a meter and that's where the leak is, it's going to call the probable source a meter set. So we're going to leave that alone. We're in North Carolina here, so the soil type is undoubtedly clay. It's red, it's hard, it's fun to dig. Part of the system, again, this is going to automatically be meter. You're not going to really need to change that because you clicked on a meter. If I were to click on a valve, it would be valve. Service pipe, etc. Pressure, so this is just operating pressure. And again, surface, it's on the lawn. And leak course, and we're going to say it is being caused by corrosion. So we're also able to do CGI testing, so we can get the gas percentage, the RPM negative, LEL percent, all of that can be input here. And then remarks can be whatever you need to put on here. And then, did we make the condition safe? So if we made the condition safe, yes, date and time, and we're going to just say today. One of the big things that Chester wanted is they wanted to be able to diagram where they were seeing their leaks on their meters. So what we did is we took this image from a previous survey they did, and we can say, hey, the leak is right here. You can write on it. And then this attachment is forever associated not just with this survey, but with that meter as well. And then you can also take a picture. So there's the component that I was trying to scan. And once that's completed, we would check the signatures required. You can see a GPS location is automatically taken. If I was using a high accuracy receiver, it would be better than plus or minus 10 meters, but of course I'm inside. So we just send now. So that meter has now been updated. Again, if I come back in here, that script has not run. It's going to be run every few hours, so that it's going to remain red at least for a few hours. If I were to run the script, it would change it to green, and the inspection date would change to today's date, and the inspection would be current. So in addition to meters, we can also inspect valves. So there's a valve here, excess flow valve. I'm going to say there's a leak. And we won't go through the whole process, but you can see the inspection features the excess flow valve. The asset type is an automatic reset. Asset ID automatically gets pulled over. What we're trying to do is limit the amount of button pushing that the folks in the field have to do. And anytime that you're having to type in information, you introduce the opportunity for error. So another nice thing, what's secretly going on in the background is if this asset ID was dropped for some reason, that's not going to change the link. We're passing the global ID for us GIS folks who are familiar with the global ID. We're passing the global ID of the asset that we collect to the inspection form in the background. It's a hidden field. That way we're forever to go back and link the inspection form to the asset that we do the inspection on. So that global ID is basically the guts of what's going on, but it allows us a lot of confidence that if somebody types something wrong, you can remove all of this information that it looks like it can't be associated, but that global ID is there and we'll be able to associate back to that asset. So that's the leak inspection form. We also have valve inspection. I'm not going to show that today. It's a very similar workflow. One thing I did want to show here on this valve inspection, there is no diagram on the valve inspection. However, if we were to do a distribution main and say there's a leak, the diagram is going to be different from a meter. And this is the diagram that Chester wanted. We're pretty happy with it, but we're flexible. All of this is semi-customizable so that we can match what our customer needs, because Chester's leak inspection does not have everything that we have here in this demo. We want to make sure the demo covered anything that anybody could possibly need. So the final thing we want to show is we did create a leak inspection dashboard. Now this is a fairly simple dashboard compared to what we built for Chester. Let me show you a screenshot of Chester's. So they actually had the map on there. You can see the number of inspections completed to date. You can see the number completed daily and weekly. If I recall, this was like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They'd already done 230 inspections that day, which is just phenomenal. They only had two groups doing inspection, one on the eastern side of the county, one on the western side of the county. You can see 5.3% leaks on meters and almost no leaks on mains, 0.3%. But this allowed their folks in the office to see real time what was going on. Things are updated as inspections are being completed. The one that we've got for Duncan-Parnell, since we have much, much less information because we're just got a handful of inspections that we're doing, it's just as we do demos, we've got 17 leaks completed. We're not going to do a daily running total because in reality, we may not demo this every day. So we didn't put that in ours. This is customizable. We can make it say whatever data that you want. But we do have a leak inspection by grade, and then we have the cause of leak, which is something Chester didn't necessarily want. So we have 10 leaks found on 17 inspections. Again, demo data. That's a very high percentage, but that's just what we're putting in as sales reps when we do these demos. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to show you as far as a demo of the solution goes. I believe we've got a few questions. I'll let York jump back on too, see what we can't answer. Oh, I'm sorry, my audio went in and out. I hope that it was not too bad. If we missed anything, please let me know. How did you tie, okay, I'm reading some questions here. How did you tie multiple inspections to a single feature, and how were you able to change the symbology of your features based on the changes to the related table? So it's actually not a related table. What we're doing is, and I think the global ID is the guts of what's going on. So we're actually got a script that runs in the background that is doing basically a join of the data in Pro that goes through and searches. So if there's a global ID, if it matches, it's going to pull that inspection date. It's going to populate that in the attribute for the feature service, and then the symbology is going to change based on that date. So there is a script that's running in the background that we wrote that handles that, and multiple inspections to a single feature. So since we're not doing a relationship class, there's no need to worry about a one-to-one join or a one-to-many join. They're completely standalone. So the leak inspection surveys are completely standalone from the meter or the asset that we're collecting. But at any time, you can run that join, but we can also query the surveys based on the asset ID. So it gives us a lot of flexibility there. It doesn't limit us to having to work with relationship classes, which in ArcGIS Online can be tricky at times. So hopefully that answers your question. Is Esri Attribute Assistant used to auto-populate the required fields? No. So the required fields, what we were populating in the Survey 123 form, we've got a custom URL in the pop-up that is taking the information from the attribute table of the feature services and passing them automatically to Survey 123. So that's how that's being done. And then we've got a question. We have our own naming conventions. Would we have to change to use your names, or can we adopt our names? I believe what he's referring to here is when we and I assume this is what he's asking, when we transition their data, it matches our geodatabase. Yes, we can be completely flexible for you guys, whoever orders this solution. We recommend sticking with our database, but we can make tweaks as necessary, because obviously not everybody's data matches our database, but we have picked what Esri considers the industry standard. Is the delay to the inspection data synchronization a system limitation or a preference to the utility? So it's really because the script that we're running cannot be run on ArcGIS Online, it's got to be run in Pro or on a machine that has Pro. It's a limitation to the system, but we're currently working with Esri to get this script to be able to run within ArcGIS Online. So we hope to have that be a real-time solution here shortly, but at this time it is a script that has to be run on a machine that has ArcGIS Pro. But it can be automatically kicked off. So what Roy's done is had a Windows Task Manager schedule that script to go off 3 times a day. It could certainly go off more frequently, but Chester was more than happy with 3 times a day for that leak inspection. The corrosion inspection is going to go off hourly, but we have not yet implemented that script yet. Absolutely. So any more questions, we can certainly answer. So this is kind of the first of a couple webinars that we intend to do. So keep an eye on your email. We're going to be doing all kinds of webinars coming up, not just related to our GIS solution here. We've got quite a bit of stuff on Trimble Water coming down the line as well as possibly Site Vision and a few other things. So I'm going to bring York back in, see if he's got any final comments. If anybody's got any final questions, feel free to enter them into the chat window. If you would like to ask a question, just let us know and we can unmute you as well.
Thank you, Peter. No, I think that went well. But yeah, we certainly would like to know what your feedback is. If you have any questions now or later, feel free to ask. Or if there's any particular things you'd like to see in a webinar. We've got some ideas of what we want to do for the kind of summer series that we're going to propose. But there's some things that you as a customer base would like to see or interested in questions getting answered. Just let us know that as well. Any other questions from you all before we sign off for the day?
York, can we pull up that the slide with our introduction so we can show our email one more time if anybody wants to reach out to us?
Sure. Stand by just a second.
And I can probably do it. I've got it here. You know what? I'll pull it up real quick.
There you go.
So we will leave this up as we close. So if anybody needs to reach out to us, here's both York and my contact information. If you're not in either of our territories, we'll absolutely get you in touch with the appropriate sales rep. And we, again, recorded this, so we will be sending out a recording soon.
Great. Thank you all very much. We appreciate your time today.
Yes, thank you so much.